Hello everybody! Hope you're all doing well, and wow, I forgot to turn off the light again. I even thought about it before I was walking down. So yeah, I remember to turn that light off. I was like, hey Nichols, Mochi, Nick, how you guys doing? Starting music is a whole mood. I hope it's a good mood. The man, the myth, the legend. How you guys all doing today? Excuse me while I turn a light off. Do I need to start, like, making timed reminders or some shit? It's like, hey, Bear, remember to turn your light off. Turn your light off. You're epic as always? Good, good. Glad. For those that missed it yesterday, like last night, I did do another Gunpla and Chill. And it was the Gelgoog Jaeger. Fun little kit. Crap ton of verniers on it. But it's nice. The kit is from 2004, I think. Was that it? 2004? Or was it earlier? Yep, 2004. Old as hell kit. Still decent. I prefer its design to the regular Gelgoog that I also have. They're technically essentially the same machine, just one's a little more better proportioned. Just because they decided to redesign things for OVAs. And then first say, oh, this is what they all looked like, even in the original series. But then decided, actually, no, it's just a different model. Just so we can sell more toys. And have more lore. Everyone loves lore. Good, got no class, so I'm packing up while watching this. Oh, fun. Hope packing goes well. And hopefully I'm not, you know, a massive distraction. Let's hope. Okay, so we're back with Fruit of Grisaia, as you can see, and when we last left off, we finally got to Amane's backstory, and it's pretty fucked up so far, and barely anything has happened. We know the beginning of the story. We essentially know what happens at the end of it. How the beginning got to the end, we're gonna fucking find out. Time for super depressing flashback time? Yay! Wait, what? That's all good, Nick. It's all good. So I do have up in the title to use you know, Command CW for content warnings. I will be updating it as I go in case something new pops up. So at the moment, we have death and physical trauma. Descriptions of death and physical trauma. That's what we got so far. That could almost certainly is going to change, because I know this fucking game by now. It's going to definitely change, and bro doesn't know the half of it. Fuck. Yeah, that's never a good sign. So yeah, right from the beginning. Content warning. Probably going to be some things that could... you may not like, in a way. If you need to step away at any time, mute the stream, walk away from viewing, what have you, go ahead. You don't need to tell me you're doing it. If you need to, just go ahead and do it. We all understand. So, Amane is telling us something that happened in her past that actually involved Yuji's sister. In fact, the event she's describing is the event that ended up having his sister dying. As it started out, they were on a bus coming back from like a training camp for their basketball team when it crashed. Of the about 14 people that were on the bus, 3 of them have already died. few of them are injured, the rest are okay. They have no contact with anyone, there's no cell signal anywhere, climbing out is like a non-option because of how it is. So at the moment, Amane and Yuji's sister are just kind of surveying while their team captain is trying to keep everybody together, just not exactly in the best way possible. Yeah. That's where we're at right now. Again, we know the beginning of this. They were in a bus crash. We know the end. Amane was the only survivor of said crash. So now we're finding out how she ended up becoming the only survivor. And also why she got the nickname Cockroach, apparently. So strap yourselves in, folks. This is gonna be a ride. And again, also for the Amane flashback, I will be kind of doing just a different voice in general, just to differentiate Yuji narration to Amane narration. I mean, she is a cockroach. Oh, for fuck's sakes, Mochi. Mochi, goddammit. She's a woman who knows what she wants, and what she wants is that Yuji cock. I don't know why, though. I don't know why Yuji specifically. He's kind of an asshole. Whatever. He's got his moments of being a, you know, good person. It's just overshadowed by the misogyny. Having returned to the site of the accident, Kazuki and I explained the situation to Captain Sagashida, showing her the compass and its non-functional needle. She didn't stir from the rock she'd been sitting on. When we finished our story, she sighed deeply, leaned forward to take her head in her hands, and answered with a brief, "I understand." The captain's only response was to sluggishly raise one hand and point. In the direction she indicated, Koide Ritsu was examining the wounded while trying to hold back her tears. Oh yeah, the team captain got her little lackey to be their impromptu medic. The reasoning being, your parents are doctors, you should know how to do first aid. Sure, because that's how it works. Even she pointed out that I don't know anything. We all point out that's a stupid assumption. But apparently no one else has any kind of first aid. The only one I think that would, or at least the two people that would, the bus driver and the teacher chaperone, aren't exactly available at the moment. The bus driver is dead, and the teacher is unconscious. So, not a great situation for all.
どうなの、小出さん。先生には大きな外傷もないし、軽い脳震盪だと思うから、しばらく横になっていれば意識が回復すると思う。
If someone has a concussion, you don't let them sleep. Weak sauce crew, Goku solo style. Oh my god.
広岡さんは左のすねと右の膝を骨折してる。飛び出してはいないけど、両方とも完全骨折。意識はしっかりしてるけど、だいぶ苦しんでるわ。
Okay, so the teacher's got potentially a concussion, while the other girl has broken legs. And the team captain's like, prioritize the teacher. Huh? Yeah, prioritize the teacher. Even though we got one girl who's got broken legs and is, you know, like, in massive amounts of pain because broken legs? Can't exactly walk or do anything useful.
桜井さんは腹部裂傷。事故の拍子で何か尖ったもの。傷跡から想像すると多分割れた瓶だと思うけど、お腹に突き刺さったみたい。もう出血は止まり始めてる。
Okay.
金田さんは頭部裂傷。右目の上あたりの額を切ってる。多分何かにぶつけたんだと思う。もう出血は止まってるわ。
Well, there is something you can do, but not like... Oh my god, Nick. Okay, these two are probably potentially in the best condition, I think. Depending on how deep the laceration to the abdomen is. The cut above the forehead, okay. At least it's stopped bleeding now. But still pretty bad.
それでってえ、本当に見ただけ？治療はしていないの？
What treatment could she possibly give? She doesn't know anything.
無理を言わないで。道具も何もないのに。道具があったところで私には無理よ。折れていたら位置を合わせて固定するだけ。避けていたら縫い合わせるだけじゃない。
Alright, you got a needle? You got string? Do we have anything in here to work as splints? You're supposed to be smart, Kazuki. Do we have any of that?
そんなのやったこともないのに無理よ。簡単だって言うならあなたがやってよ。
Oh yeah, Kazuki, go for it then. Exactly.
じゃあ、お湯を沸かしてくださる？
Okay, she's straight up just gonna do it. Never mind. Tell him to man up, problem solve. Jesus Christ, Mochi.
キャンプの道具の中にガスコンロがあったでしょ？たくさんお湯を沸かして生食を作ってください。ついでに救急箱と釣り道具も発掘してきてくださるとありがたいですね。あ、はい、わかりました。風見さん、骨折の治療とか経験があるの？ないわ。本で読んだ知識があるだけ。あなたは？ない。まあ、普通はないわよね。大丈夫なの？経験や自信のある人がいるなら変わるわよ。私だって後から来て人の仕事を奪った出しゃばりな女だと思われたら心外だもの。
Oh my god. You two. Kazuki turned around quickly. Ah, sorry, wrong voice. Forgot, I'm doing the other voice. Kazuki turned around quickly to face the depressed group of girls, raised her right hand, and asked, "Does anyone have medical experience?" No one raised their hand in response. No one even met Kazuki's eyes.
誰も経験がないのなら誰がやっても同じじゃない？それともこのまま怪我は自己責任ってことで放っておく？
Jesus.
それはさすがに。私ね、できることはあったのにっていう後悔が一番悔しいと思うの。そんなわけだから一人ずつ見ていきましょうか。まずは頭部裂傷の金田さんから。金田さんが嫌いだから？ん？ああ、金田さんが一番軽傷だからよ。軽傷の子を見ている間に重傷の子が死ねば無駄な診察をしないで済むでしょ？
Pretty morbid way of looking at it, but, yeah, I guess. I guess they literally don't have the supplies, so patch up the miners first. I don't know.
嫌だわ。なぜ黙るの？冗談を言ったのだから笑ってくれないと恥ずかしいじゃない。笑えないし。ねえ、あなた、友達っているの？ そうね。今のところあなただけかしら。
Oh. Okay.
だからなぜ黙るの？笑えばいいの？そうね。そしたら私は泣くわ。ごめん。会話の速度についていけない。
Following Kazuki's instructions, everyone with the physical energy and willpower to move cooperated to retrieve the first aid kit, camping equipment, and fishing tackle from the overturned bus. Kazuki gathered the tools she thought would be useful, passed them to Koide Ritsu to be disinfected, and began examining the wounded while waiting for the water to come to boil. As promised, she looked at word. Got tongue-tied for no reason there. As promised, she looked at Kanede Saya at her head laceration first.
どう？耳はちゃんと聞こえていますか？右と左で聞こえ方が違うとかは？大丈夫みたい。そう。じゃあ手を出して。まずは右手。
Kaneda's wound had already been disinfected, sutured shut, and covered with a roll of bandage. When Kazuki said she planned to use a fishing hook to stitch the cut, I couldn't help raising doubts about whether such a procedure could be hygienic, but... When she responded, "Well, I suppose we could try sticking it together with super glue. I'm sure that would make for a much prettier result," I decided I should probably keep my mouth shut. I mean, super glue is good in a pinch. It's technically a medical instrument as well, like a medical supply as well. You can use it for minor cuts, though. Minor. It'll fill them in, keep them, you know, clear of infection and getting more infected. I think it's really cool how almost all the girls get custom sprites. Yeah, it is kind of cool. Usually they don't put any kind of effort into, you know, background NPCs. They'll just be, you know, words on the screen. Or maybe, if you're lucky, a silhouette. So, yeah, it's actually pretty nice. We get an idea. We can put a face to a person, even if they're, you know, not going to be around for very long. After that, I did nothing but silently record Kazuki's words in the memo notepad we were using as a makeshift medical record.
どう？痛い？
Kazuki took a firm grip on Kanede's right hand and dug her nails firmly into her index finger.
痛いってば。
No shit. Okay, we know you got feeling in your hand.
ごめんなさい。それじゃあ左手は？同じように痛みを感じる？だから痛いってば。
It almost seemed like Kazuki was enjoying watching Kaneda squirm in pain. A question leaked out of my mouth.
ねえ、さっきから何をしているの？彼女、頭を打ったみたいだから、感覚器官や神経で左右に差異がないか調べているのよ。
Yeah, makes sense.
傷口を縫っている時に気がついたのだけれど、彼女、左目がわずかに内斜視なのよ。右目と左目で見えている範囲も違うの。気がつかなかった。
I hurriedly add the word esotropic to the record in my notebook. Okay. I'd never even heard of esotropic.
あなた、お名前なんておっしゃったかしら。金田サーヤ。
Kaneda Saya, okay.
ああ、そうそう。金田サーヤ。サーヤさんね。いい名前だわ。 そう思う？
ええ。もし私が犬を飼っていたら、そう名付けたいぐらいよ。
犬。ごめんなさい。この人、冗談がきついから。
あら、どうしてあなたが謝るの？
それは、私があなたのお友達だからよ。
あら、嬉しい。私、親友って初めてよ。
That's a little sad. Just in general. I didn't remember adding best to that phrase, but leaving that unsaid was probably the smart move here. Well, I'd learned that much, so I must have been growing used to her. I guess the word friend I had spoken just now wasn't entirely sarcastic.
今すぐあなたを抱きしめてキスをしたいところだけれど、今は金田さんの診察中だから、後でね。
ごゆっくりどうぞ。
どこまで見たかしら。ああ、そうそう。金田さん、あなた子供の頃に虐待を受けたことは？
ないわ。
母親に床に落とされたことも？
ない。
だったらシャシは今回の事故が原因ね。大丈夫、治るらしいから。はい、次の方。
Kazuki continued her examinations along these lines, eventually working her way through all of the girls, even those with no apparent injury.
今の子で最後ね。軽い打ち身で内出血してる子もいたけど、ほとんどが軽傷ね。
一番の重傷はやっぱり広岡さんね。左肩の脛骨と腓骨が切損、右足は大腿骨の遠位骨が複合骨折。
Guess what, guys? It takes a lot of force to break a femur. To break a bone in general, it takes a lot of force. Our bones are kind of tough. Especially shit like a femur. So you know it's bad when that gets broken.
両方とも閉鎖骨折だから細菌感染の心配はないし、一応骨は固定してみたけど、病院に連れて行かないとダメね。
Fair, fair.
あとは桜井さんのお腹も。
ああ、傷口が大きいから重傷に見えるけど、内臓には届いていないし、縫合は済ませたから大丈夫よ。
Foot is healing from being broken, so I can't confirm. Yeah. Yeah, how is your foot doing, by the way? Is it doing a lot better now? Hoping so.
「ただ感染症が心配ね。できれば病院で抗生物質を投与した方がいいわ。
Doing okay. I'm at the point where I can do partial weight bearing. Okay, okay, good, good, good. Very good. I've probably brought this up on stream at some point, but I spent an entire summer on crutches because a radiator fell on my foot. An old-ass, like, cast-iron radiator, too. Nothing broke, shockingly. I don't know how, but nothing broke. It just swelled, and I could not put any weight on it for quite literally an entire summer, like a whole 2 months. That hurt like a bitch. If I kept my foot down for long periods of time, I would feel it, like, swelling, so I always had to keep it elevated. Eventually, I could walk on it. I just still needed at least one crutch. Hell, actually, I ended up using, like, one of my neighbor's old polio crutches. Just as, like, almost like a makeshift cane, just for a little bit until I could walk without issues. Though that one foot, I think, is now slightly bigger than the other foot. Like, ever so slightly. That's what I get for not going to a summer camp that year. Trying to do a nice thing, take out an old radiator with my dad at a in a veterans building, and it fucking drops on my damn foot. I have shockingly never broken a bone. The worst, again, that has happened to me is radiator on the foot, and also having my arm popped out of the socket briefly for a little bit. Because, hey, I was a dumb kid playing with, like, family and cousins and figured, hey, grab my arms and swing me around. Well, they swung me around with enough force to pop my shoulder out of the socket. That hurt a lot. God. Dumb kid back then. Whew. Yeah, thankfully nothing major. I haven't had to... I don't know. No, kids gotta learn somehow. True. Very, very true. I've only had one actual surgery in my life. And that was as a baby. To get rid of like a lump over my one eye. So I have like a little scar right here going along the eyebrow, where there just kind of used to be a lump of something. So that was out, and I didn't even notice I had a damn scar here for like well over 10 years, by the way. I was well past the age of 10, it's like, oh yeah, you had a surgery on your baby. Like right there, it's like, it looks like, oh god, I actually do have a scar. Oh. Okay. Worst injury is probably my giant burn on my thigh from when I was 14. Oof. I also burnt myself one time. In the dumbest way possible, by the way. I wanted to tend the fire at our trailer park while I was there. We had an old handle to use to like just kind of poke at the fire. It was a metal handle. I wanted to be cool after poking it because it would always usually be like, there might be some embers stuck on it. I wanted to be cool, lift it up and blow it out. Yeah, hot metal. Tss, right there. That was a nice burn. Yeah, that was a real nice burn. Good thing it was the summer, so I didn't have to go to school with that. Broke my arm during childhood. Ooh, I mean, a lot of kids break their arms in childhood. But, I mean, that's the memory you'll always carry of having a fun childhood, I guess. Dropped my ramen on my lap was basically... Ooh! Ooh! Mine was probably more stupid, but I was also younger, so... We're all dumb kids. We're all dumb kids. I seem to get the worst with burns of some kind. Sunburns, specifically. Somehow gave myself a burn on my chest here one time by just having glasses hooked on here and never putting sunscreen on. So that was always open, and then just burn, 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 burn. I didn't even notice it until the bus ride back from that school trip. Why does Scrooge want Verizon? See on the counter next to the stove, when my mom was boiling water, I decided to play drums on the handle set. Oh! Good God. Ouch. Okay, I think Mochi's giving us the play-by-play of ads. And then the last major, like, bad burn I got, Nichols is at least aware of this. I know I've brought it up on stream before, and technically they were around when I had it, because it was at Jen's wedding. Shoulders and like back, all here. 2nd-degree burns. From being in the sun without sunscreen at a spa before the day before a wedding. Ouch. Trying to sleep was a bitch. It was bad. Like, it was straight up not even sunburn, it was 2nd-degree burns. Oh. So that wedding and reception was really awkward for me, mostly because I was wearing a shirt way too big for me because the shirt I brought was way too small, and pants way too tight for me because they were my dad's. Because I grabbed the wrong pair. I was uncomfortable as fuck. And then I was constantly slathering aloe on my shoulders and back to soothe some of the pain. Whew. God. Oof. I think I learned my lesson to wear sunscreen more. At least that's one thing I'll definitely never forget about Jen's wedding. Anyway, back to the fictional characters dying of wounds.
とりあえずやれるだけのことはやったと部長に報告しておいて。
私が報告するの？
当たり前でしょ。そのためにあなたをお医者さんごっこに付き合わせたのだから。同じ言葉で状況を説明しても誰の口から出たかで印象は変わるでしょ。きっと私の報告なんか信じないわよ、あの部長。
The number one memory of Jen's wedding is when they last called at the same time. Maybe call, just yell. Oh, okay. At the same time as call me maybe. The other freaking memory I have is how am I gonna get back to the Airbnb with my 2 drunk-ass friends while our 4th friend decided to get his own ride back? While we're technically in a different province. Shit. That was fun, downloading an app, looking online with data. No, I think there was Wi-Fi. I made it happen. I got us back to our Airbnb. After having to direct the taxi, he's like, no, you need to go further down the road into the forest. Keep going, not the first little side path. No, not the second, keep going. Look for the big building with lights on. We're there. There, I see you. That was... Oh. Alright, we got back. That was the important thing. We got back safe and sound. Me carrying with two guys just, you know, plastered out of their mind. And then the 4th showed up a little bit later, having gotten a ride back with the person he was talking to. And then it was all good. Still there for another day or 2, I'm pretty sure. Just kind of did some stuff, and then off we went on a long-ass fucking train ride home. I liked it, though. We had outlets at the seats we had, and tables in front of us. I set up my laptop, was watching stuff. They had the concession cart coming by every now and then. So it wasn't bad at all. I've now done that trip to and from twice now. I still like it. Still comfortable enough.
Well, the last thing we needed was Kazuki's harsh tongue setting off a fight.
部長には先生には部長から説明してくださいって言っておいて。その程度の手柄は与えておかないと 拗ねられても面倒なだけだし。
またそうやって余計なことを言う。
これでも随分と遠慮しているつもりなのだけれど。
You're actually injured and dying, aren't you? Slowly. Something's wrong with you, but you're hiding it, aren't you?
風見さん。
At that moment, I realized something for the first time. Kazuki's face was flushed red, her breathing was rough, and she was sweating heavily.
どうしたの？なんだか顔色が悪いけど。
これよ。
Kazuki raised her left arm as she spoke, revealing it to be heavily swollen and purple.
ちょっと、これどうしたの？
折れてはいないようだけど、ひびは入っているみたい。いわゆる不全骨折というやつね。
その左腕ってまさかバスの中で私が踏んでいた場所。
Oh!
私のせいで。
事故の直前にとっさにシートベルトを腕に巻きつけて衝撃に備えたせいよ。
Okay.
ただでさえ負荷がかかっているところにあなたに踏んづけられてとどめを刺したのだとしても、そもそもあなたのせいで事故が起きたわけではないでしょ。
それはそうだけど、でも私があなたを下敷きにしてしまったから。
気にしすぎよ。それとも、もし私があなたのせいだとわめき散らしたら、あなたは自分の腕を切り落として私にくれるの？
ごめんなさい。それは無理。
だったら気にしないことね。私も気にしていないわ。落ち込まないでよ。本当に気にしていないから。どうしよう。もう少し優しく言った方が良かったのかしら。
大丈夫なの？
痛いわよ。でも泣くほどではないし、泣いて痛みを紛らわせるほど子供でもないわ。
ごめんなさい。
あなた、自分を罰してくれる人がいないと落ち着かないタイプ？まあいいわ。だったらこの左腕のことは貸しにしておいてあげる。
貸し？
そう。叱る時に望まれれば、あなたは私の命令を拒否できない。それで許してあげる。
今言ってくれればすぐに従うのに。
嫌よ。いい？貸しっていうのはね、返してもらわない方が大きな利益を生むのよ。覚えておきなさい。
It's interesting to compare how young and current Amane act. How this one is so constantly saying sorry and is very timid, whereas the current Amane is very just kind of outgoing in your face. Yeah, okay, yeah. Clearly this event did a lot to her.
心配しないでいいのよ。私も別にお友達から高い利子を巻き上げようとは思わないから。
Kazuki's expression as she spoke those words was an artificially perfect smile, suggesting a kind of maturity well beyond her years. As I watched her face, I felt sticky sweat seeping out of the back of my head. Did I really just put myself at the mercy of a person like this? Our basketball team's advisor, Mr. Ochi Yoshihiko, regained consciousness 30 minutes later. After hearing a brief summary of the situation from Captain Sakashita, Mr. Ochi called for all the surviving students and had us sit on the ground together.
そもそも事故の原因は何だったのですか？
Just as if we were still in the classroom, Captain Sakashita raised her right hand as she spoke. At her nearly accusatory tone, our young teacher and the driver of the bus wrinkled his face into something very close to a scowl.
Oh, the teacher was the driver. Never mind. So 3 students died. I can see the one on the ground is the one with the broken legs, you know, by the teacher, I assume. Yeesh. It's so neat if you do a reread later down the road, because you always catch these small nods and foreshadowing of these backstories way before they're shown in the story as well, even in other routes. Yes! I bring this up a lot, how after you play through one route, you're never going to go through the other routes with the same kind of, like, outlook, because you'll know all about this other character and then actually notice these little things they say. You're always going through the next route and routes with more and more knowledge about every other character, and that changes your perspective of the routes. The first route you do with no previous knowledge is obviously the most open you'll get, basically. How do I even say this? How do I properly describe it? It's, I guess, the most unbiased view you would get of, well, the game and the girls. Just going through that first route. After that point, it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be changed, because you know a lot more information now going down this route, and that does skew your vision of it. I know I brought it up a lot in Katawa Shoujo when I was playing through. And I know for a fact I brought it up a lot when I was playing through the Blue Skies mod. Because you can get all the little hints of what each of the girls were going through in Blue Skies when you're on the other girls' routes, especially after you finished one route. It makes a lot of their behavior make more sense. And then there was also me theory crafting what Monica's route would have been in Blue Skies if they were able to finish it. Just from the way she acted at points and things she was
Wow.
saying. Thank you, Nick. That's why this one kind of really took me off guard, because there's not really many hints I was able to pick up beforehand about things. Of what could have the route been about at all, at least compared to Blue Skies, which, I mean, we already, if you play Doki Doki, you kind of know what all the girls are going through before you jump in. It's just how that mod decided to go about revealing it to you. But this one, it was all, you know, lighthearted, jokey, fun stuff with a few, you know, random sexual things thrown in. Well, not even a few, a lot of sexual things thrown in. Maybe a few more serious moments kind of peppered throughout, but nothing major. Even at the start of their routes, everything's kind of okay, normal. Then you get to the flashback and things go off the fucking rails. They hide it really well? Yes, they do. Like, I'm sure if I were to go back and actually play through the common route again, I might notice at times when other Michiru takes over for regular Michiru. I might notice that a bit more. Because it's something that does happen. Hell, it may have happened at some points during the other 2 routes. I just didn't notice right away because I was just focused. I wasn't actually looking for it, but again, I got going through all these routes knowing that Michiru has DID. I'm going through these routes now knowing Sachi is an orphan childhood friend. And now I'll be going through the last 2 routes knowing Amane was in the survived the crash that killed Yuji's sister.
わからん。急にハンドルが取られて、慌ててブレーキをかけたが止まりきれずにそのまま崖下に転落した。おそらくはパンクだろ
う。では、パンクの原因は何ですか？
Why are you blaming your teacher here?
俺が知るわけないだろう。俺は今目が覚めたばかりなんだぞ。
大きな声を出さないでください。みんな不安なんです。
分かっている。
A worthless argument along these lines continued for a good 10 minutes. The situation being what it was, nobody tried to butt in or calm things down. We all sat there and waited for things to run their course.
My only problem with Kazuki's how she's just like damn near perfect apparently. Don't really like that archetype. Yeah, she's just... I am perfect. I can do no wrong. Everything I say is right. I'm smug about it. And that's it. Like, where can you go from there? Apparently nowhere, because they have her killed off in the backstory. So,
Watching our teacher and captain bellowing at each other meaninglessly, a few girls began to cry from sheer anxiety. The captain seized on that fact as a new line of attack.
Your character is pretty interesting. I can see why others like it. Okay.
In that place, filled with the gloom and dominated by angry voices, Kazumi Kazuki smiled brightly, drew her face close, and began to whisper in my ear.
やあね。どんな時でも自分以外の責任が確立しないと落ち着かないのかしら。今は原因や責任の所在より話し合うべき重要なことがもっとたくさんあると思わない？
Yeah, you're right about that.
True enough, but I couldn't understand what she expected to accomplish by murmuring this to me. It wasn't like I had the ability to redirect the discussion. Complaining wasn't going to get us anywhere. If anything, there was a good chance this might make the situation even worse.
そこ、こそこそと何を話しているの?
See? I told you so. When you get spotted gripping in the shadows, of course you're going to get told off.
Or griping. Probably griping in this situation they're trying to say. They're not gripping. Yeah, griping. Griping, not gripping. I'm a dumbass. When am I not?
As I hesitated, searching for some kind of excuse, Kazuki abruptly raised her right hand and asked for permission to speak.
パンクの原因ですが、おそらくは廃材を積んだトラックの荷台から何か鋭利な金属片のようなものが落ちて、それを私たちのマイクロバスの前輪が踏んだのだと思います。
根拠はあるの？
バスのタイヤを見てください。
As directed by Kazuki's words, everyone present turned to look at the tires of the overturned bus. The front wheel on the right side was neatly torn around its circumference, cracked in two vertical halves.
そう。例えば、尖った金属の板のようなものを踏んでしまい、そのまま車体のどこかに引っかかって、回転するタイヤを連続で傷つけ続けた結果、最後にタイヤが破裂したのではないかと。
Shit.
Watching Kazuki explain her theory with words and gestures, the majority of us felt the pieces falling into place. It made sense.
今時の車のタイヤは釘を踏んだ程度なら一瞬で空気が抜けてしまうことはないそうですが、金属片でタイヤを裂かれてしまえばどうしようもないわ。
Yep, very true.
また、そんなものを踏んづけた先生が悪いわけでもない。たとえタイヤが裂けてパンクしても、直線道路であったら安全に止まることはできたはず。あえて何が悪かったのかというのを決めるのであれば、カーブの途中でタイヤが破裂したという運のなさが一番悪いわ。
Yeah, blame bad luck.
そんな悪運の中にあって、 ここにいる私たちは少なくとも命だけは助かった。今はその幸運をどう大切にするかというのが大切じゃないかしら。
こんな状況で私たちに何ができると？
絶望しないための努力なんてどうかしら。つまり前向きな希望探しの話し合いなんて素敵じゃないかと私は思うのだけれど。
Rather than grieving over your poverty, fantasize about what you'll buy if you win the lottery. You'll sleep better at night. That was Kazuki's argument in a nutshell. Although, if she'd said it outright, it was obvious she would have angered the captain. And so, at Kazuki's request, I took my notebook in one hand and repeated the details of our situation to the group. We were surrounded by a dense sea of trees without so much as an animal trail running through it. The cliffs hung over us like an overturned mortar bowl, making a climb back to the road impossible. And our cell phones couldn't find a signal. To escape alive, our only option was to walk away from the road and into the forest, but probably because of a meteorite that fell nearby, there seemed to be dense deposits of metals scattered throughout the area. And thanks to these pockets of concentrated magnetic material, our compasses would be of no use. It seemed plausible that this strange hole, with its overhanging walls, had been gouged into the earth by the impact of that meteorite. The bare rock of the walls had turned to glass under the assault of momentary high temperature. Even reading out this dry, factual summary of our situation from the notebook was enough to drain my spirits. Where, exactly, were we supposed to find hope in any of this?
こうなってしまえば、下手に動き回っていたずらに体力を消耗するより、おとなしく救助を待った方がいいわね。
はい、それが最善かと。
That is true. Probably would be best. Granted, how long were you guys gonna be here? When are they gonna, you know, send out a search party? You'd be here at the very least for a full day before they realize they've gone missing. And then it's organizing people to actually go and search. They'd probably start where you last were. Maybe. If there's no sign of, you know, the bus going off the road, they probably wouldn't think to look off the road right away. If they don't, you know, do that right away, it would take something like a helicopter going over and maybe they would spot it. It's a difficult situation. But generally, the best course of action is stay where you are. Generally. Unless you do have signs of, you know, civilization nearby. But as they've stated, there literally is none. The forest is thick and there's no trails of anything that's gone through it, so nothing to follow. And as I said last time... As I said last time, we are notoriously bad at getting turned around inside of forests. Like, notoriously bad. Going in a straight line in a forest is a hard thing to do. You may not think you're going to go in a circle, but you're going to end up going in a circle. And that's when you get lost. That's why they tell you to stick to the trail if you ever go hiking.
Although I wanted to escape this disturbing place as quickly as possible, there was no guarantee that any of us would return alive if we wandered off aimlessly now. Continuing the investigation of our surroundings until a more certain path presented itself, while waiting for the arrival of a rescue, seemed the wiser choice by far. I felt a wave of relief wash over my body at the captain's decision.
あら、それはどうかしら。
I looked behind me with a start. Kazumi Kazuki, the very person who'd shoved me onto this little stage, had spoken those words. Kazuki, the very person who had told me to explain things clearly and logically so no one acts rashly, had disrupted the discussion just as we were beginning to reach a consensus. I couldn't begin to understand why. I glanced at her face with an irrepressible frown.
どういう意味かしら？何か反論でも？
ええ、確かに下手に動き回ったところで生還できるという保証はどこにもない。けど、待っていれば助けが来るという保証もどこにもありません。
それぐらい私にも分かっているわ。一生ここで助けを待つつもりはないけれど、十分な調査もしないまま密林に踏み込むのは自殺行為だとは思わなくて？
十分な調査とは何をもって十分と判断するのですか？食料どころか飲み水すら潤沢ではないこの状況で腰を据えて考えている余裕があるとは思えません。
Making sausage sandwiches? You're gonna make me hungry, Mochi.
それならいっそ気力と体力が充実している今のうちに腰を上げるべきかと愚行しますが。
それは本当に愚行よね。私たちのような素人が考えるほど山は甘くないわ。私の判断が気に入らないのなら、どうぞあなたを一人で森に入られて結構よ。
口が過ぎたようです。申し訳ありません。
わかればいいのよ。
If it was unexpected to hear Kazuki raise an objection in the first place, it was just as surprising to see her withdraw her opinion so easily. Still holding my silence, I asked Kazuki a question with my gaze. What was that all about?
Sandwich acquired? Hell yeah. Enjoy that sandwich, buddy.
In response to my glance, Kazuki returned her own wordless answer with a movement of her eyes and a jerk of her chin. Don't worry about it. Keep going.
それでは次に私たちがするべきはベースキャンプの確保になります。横転したバスから使えそうな道具を持ち出す作業に取り掛かるというのはどうでしょう。
そうね、そうしましょう。では手分けをして作業に取り掛かります。それでよろしいですね、先生。
ああ、そうしよう。
After that, we were divided between a group collecting things from the bus and a group responsible for sorting those things and preparing to erect our tents. We set about our work in silence. I was assigned to the collection team because of my sturdy physique, which meant I was stuck with the job of crawling into the overturned bus and dragging out whatever luggage I could find. The work itself wasn't that difficult in the physical sense, but inside the bus, the bodies of the two girls who had died instantly were still left untouched. And every time I passed by, I couldn't help but see resentment on their faces. Chewing my lower lip, I forced out the willpower to go on. Although I wasn't conscious of it, the strain on my nerves built with every trip. Finally, the dim interior of the bus was all but emptied of luggage, with the exception of the personal belongings of the dead. Probably because I'd passed the corpses so many times now, I'd grown somewhat used to their expressions of bitter regret. Or maybe it would be more accurate to say that my emotions had been paralyzed. And so, I joined my hands before the body of Shikanai Tsukasa, my senior by 2 years, and whispering, "I'm sorry," pulled her luggage free.
どう？急に大きな声を出さないでちょうだい。耳が切なくなるわ。
ずみさん。びっくりした。急に声をかけないでくれる？
急ではない声のかけ方ってあるの？
何なの？何か用？
手が空いたから死体から私物を剥ぎ取るのを手伝いに来たのよ。
Jesus Christ, that's a terrible way to put it, Kazuki.
その言い方はどうだろう。
どうせ聞こえちゃいないわよ。
As she spoke, Kazuki gently closed Shikanai-senpai's eyelids.
もう一体は？
あっち、2年の小沢先輩。
小沢？ああ、自己管理のできていない体型をした人ね。
どうして素直に太ってるって言わないの？
そんなことを言ったら彼女が傷つくじゃない。
どうせ聞こえちゃいないわよ。
まあ、なんて罰当たりな。
あなたがそれを言う？
私は毎週日曜日の朝には教会に行くわよ。
本当に？そうか。私は笑えばいいの？
もう遅いわよ。デブの先輩は私に任せて、あなたはその荷物持って外に出ていなさい。
God, Kazuki.
デブって。
Getting to be as bad as your brother.
Kazuki was a truly elusive person. At times, she reserved herself with dizzying speed. Had she seen that I was depressed and turned to this black humor to make me smile?
そういえば、さっきはどうして急に部長に反論を？あんなの予定になかったじゃない。
ああ、あれね。あなた、あの時の部長の顔を見た？
見たけど。
あなたの口から状況説明を聞いているうちは良かったのだけれど、あなたが会話の主導権を握り始めた途端に不機嫌な顔になったのよ。
As a fat person, it's okay if she gets a fat pat. Oh, okay. It's using the nickname Fatty to describe someone that just died, by the way, is not exactly good. I don't like that.
だからあの人がおかしな反発意識を持つ前に私が反論してみせたのよ。私が口を挟めばあの人は当然噛みついてくるだろうし、その上で私を言いまかしたとなればしばらくは機嫌も良くなるだろうしね。
Okay. Good reasoning there, I guess.
じゃあ、わざと？
もしあの場で私が口を挟まなければ、食べ物が心もとなくなる3日後ぐらいには値を上げて脱出しましょうと言い出すかもしれないでしょ。でも私の意見を押しのけて通した意見を覆すとなれば、私の意見が正しかったと認めることになる。
Obstinacy? Obstinacy? How the hell do you say that? This is never gonna change, people. I'll always be looking up words that I don't hear too often. Obstinacy.
The captain's obstinacy toward Kazuki had become a powerful reason for her to keep us where we were.
そこまで考えて。
長いスパンで見れば負けることで得る利益もあるということよ。こんな状況では一瞬先の自分すら想像できないかもしれないけれど、10日後の自分を想像して行動しなさい。
私、あなたのそばにいると息が詰まりそうだわ。
そう？でも短くもたった一度の人生よ。一人ぐらい天才と知り合いになっておくのも悪くないわよ。
天才か。っていうか、自分で自分を天才って言っちゃうんだ。
人に言われると腹が立つけどね。あなただって人にバカだと言われれば腹は立つのに、自分のことを私バカだからと言って相手を油断させるでしょ。
実際バカだもの。
ならあなたはバカじゃないわよ。本当のバカっていうのはね、天才を敵に回す人のことを言うの。
私たちって確かお友達だったよね。
ねえ、そう。あなたのそういう頭の回転の速さは私気に入っているわよ。
恐縮です。
What the heck? Jeez. Seriously. I must be something like a toy to her. I did feel discomfort at the effortless control she had over me. But I'm sure Kazuki knew as well as I did that I wouldn't oppose her in the end. That realization was irritating in its own right, but truthfully, by this point, I'd gotten myself so aggravated that I felt like smiling instead. Heaving a loud sigh of surrender, I turned my attention back to stripping the dead girl of her possessions. It took an hour to retrieve all the camping gear and personal belongings from the overturned bus. But now we had to face a difficult question. What do we do about the two bodies still in the bus? That was the problem. Somebody raised the idea of having everyone carry them out together, but considering the cramped interior of the bus, it would be impossible for all of us to participate. Someone else suggested that we should leave them be, rather than clumsily dragging them around, but at Kazuki's words, "It's hot today, isn't it? How long does it take for a corpse to begin rotting, I wonder?" That idea was instantly abandoned. Finally, everyone gathered there fell silent. Our pleading glances settled on the only man present, Mr. Ochi. And after a few minutes, when he placed his hands on his knees and stood with the words, "I'll do it," every one of us breathed a sigh of pure relief. Having entered the overturned bus alone, Mr. Ochi emerged with Shikanai's body cradled in his arms. The only ones who witnessed that moment were Kazuki, Captain Sakashida, and me. The others cast their eyes to the ground or turned away, avoiding the sight of their acquaintance's corpse. Probably because that sight was the distillation of a pitiless reality. To see that moment would have meant facing the truth we wanted to so desperately forget. To be honest, when I was collecting the luggage from the bus, I had placed a hand on Shikanai's body with the thought of carrying it outside. Startled to learn exactly how cold a human body could become when its body stopped flowing, I withdrew my hand instantly. I hadn't felt this kind of shock when I touched my grandmother's body in the casket at her funeral. Grandma's death, which I'd known would come eventually, wasn't nearly that cold to the touch. Touching this girl's death, a death I couldn't view with composure or resignation, turned my spine to ice. I didn't ever want to feel that way. Ever again. Yeah. Corpses are cold. Watching the removal of the bodies in solemn silence, I reflexively brought my hands together and began to pray for the dead. From behind my back, I could hear whispering voices. That body, what do we do with it now? Bury it somewhere, I guess. Can we just do that? When we're rescued, won't her family be mad? We can't assume help will arrive right away. We can't just leave it like this. It's summer after all. Apparently sensing our anxiety, Mr. Ochi decided to bury the 3 bodies some ways away. At the very least, it wouldn't do to leave them where we could see them. Practically speaking, if we'd watched those corpses rot before our eyes, we would have put our mental health at risk. Yep. In a situation like this one, panic is the greatest enemy. For the same reason, we decided it'd be best if none of us acted alone. We paired off into units of 2. To put things nicely, the idea was to establish a dynamic of mutual support. But when you got to the heart of the matter, we were supposed to watch each other like hawks for signs of abnormal behavior. If one member of the pair caused a problem, both would be held responsible. Well, I'd been 80% sure it would turn out this way from the moment I'd heard about the rule. Kazumi Kazuki named me her partner, the look on her face saying it was the most natural thing in the world.
というわけだから、これからもよろしくね。
As she spoke, Kazuki moved to show me her left arm, now wrapped in a sling. Her meaning was clear enough. My arm was disabled thanks to you, so it's only natural that you pick up the slack for me, right? I didn't have any objection to acting as a unit with Kazuki. Judging from her words and actions so far, she was intelligent and knowledgeable. If I followed her lead, things shouldn't go wrong. Even so, I couldn't quite repress my feelings. Something like dissatisfaction, or maybe confusion? Above all, I was tired of dancing so obediently on her strings.
いじめ目的以外で私を選んだ理由があるのなら聞かせてもらえないかな。
いじめるために選んだのよ。文句があるなら聞いてあげる。対処はしないけれど。
それって言うだけ無駄じゃない。
ストレスは減るわよ。長生きしようと思ったら溜め込まない方がいいわ。特に今のような状況ではね。
ああ、そう。
他に何か質問は？
私をいじめて楽しい？
不思議。どうして聞きたくもない答えを聞きたがるのかしら。はっきりと言葉にしないと興奮しないタイプ？言いにくいから遠回しに言うけど、あなた神聖の魔女よ。
We know at this point Amane is a masochist. Oh, God. God help us all.
聞くんじゃなかったわ。
大丈夫。私は神聖のサディストだから。きっとうまくいくわ、私たち。
Just like your brother. Both of you are fucking sadists.
With those words, Kazuki held out her uninjured right arm toward me. Unable to immediately understand the meaning of her gesture, I stared blankly back into her face.
あなたも手を出してくれないと、私一人では握手はできないわ。
Hey, you can, like this.
あ、そうか、握手ね。風見さんに握手なんて一般的な概念があったことに驚きだわ。
私のことは和樹さんでいいわ。あなたのことはあまねちゃんでいいかしら。
うん。
それじゃ改めてよろしくね、あまねちゃん。
こちらこそよろしく、和樹ちゃん。
I gripped Kazuki's outstretched hand with as much force as I could muster. Her hand was so small. It felt like I could quite literally crush it if I squeezed hard enough. And yet, even then, when all I could see ahead of us was uncertainty and danger, I had the feeling that small hand would save me. Alright, where's it all gonna go wrong? Okay, I think they've been out here a few days.
テントと食料を配給します。
Oh no, they're still on day one, Jesus.
Striding her way to an unsteady foothold above us, the captain shouted in a voice that resounded off the walls of rock.
Thanks, but real.
At her feet, the food and camping equipment we had dragged out of the bus were piled in a heap.
テントは2人で1つ、寝袋は1人に1つ。食料はとりあえず3日分を配給します。決して十分な量とは言えませんが、各自節約を心がけ、3日間持たせること。
In the dark cloud of bad luck that was our bus accident, our meager silver lining of good fortune was that we had been returning from a camping trip. Among the luggage we'd collected from the bus, there was a variety of camping equipment, as well as leftover ingredients from the meal we'd made the day before. There were 4 tents designed for 3 occupants, and one large tent made for 6. Kazuki and I took one of the smaller tents, 2 sleeping bags, and a mat for both of us. Our rations for the 3-day period were distributed to us in a garbage bag.
現在17時14分。18時までにテントの設営を済ませ、18時半には各自夕食を済ませてください。それ以降は自由時間としますが、勝手な行動をとって周囲に迷惑をかけないようにしてください。わかりましたか?
As she spoke, the captain glanced briefly around the group, then brought her gaze to a halt on Kazuki, who was standing at my side. That last understood was probably directed at her in particular. Did she not notice Captain Sakashida's hostile attitude? Did she notice and play dumb on purpose? Whatever the case.
Hi.
Kazuki answered in a high-pitched, girly tone that seemed to originate from her nose.
やあね、何をあんなにピリピリしているのかしら。
風見さん、そんな声出せたんだ。気持ち悪。
もう、あなたまでそんなことを言うの？別に嫌いな子にどう思われようとなんとも思わないけど、あなたにまでそんな風に思われたら、私だって傷つくのよ。
Okay, bless you. It's amazing, someone talking out of their nose. I suppose it's better than someone talking out of their ass. Even if I do that a lot.
ごめんなさい。
じゃあ罰としてあなたがテントを張ってくださる？
もともとそのつもりだったし。
代わりに夕食の準備は私がします。やったことはないけど。食材は人参に玉ねぎにじゃがいも。これって明らかに昨日作ったカレーの食材の余りよね。カレー粉もあるけど少ないわね。どうしよう。
待って貴重な食材なのよ。大丈夫なの？
まあ料理なんて煮るか焼くか蒸すかでしょ。きっと簡単よ。
Moment.
いい私がやるから任せて。
でもあなたにはテントを。
いいのよ。私こう見えても一応実家が料理屋だから料理にはちょっと自信あるし。
そう？でもなんか悪いわ。あなたばかり働かせて。
But do you really? Do you really feel bad about it? I highly doubt it.
じゃあテントを張り終わったら一緒に料理しましょう。手伝ってくれる？
あ、それはいいわね。なんだか仲のいいお友達って感じで。
でしょ？
ところであなた、お塩を使わない料理ってできる？
どういう意味？
言葉の通りだけれど。
No salt?
お塩ならあるじゃない。ほら。
だからそれをできるだけ使わないでほしいのだけれど。無理？
Why?
まあ無理ではないけど、お塩がないと美味しくないよ。
その辺は我慢しましょう。ね。
Why do you not want to use this? Oh, maybe you have too much salt. It'll dehydrate you quicker, go through your water supply quicker. Maybe that's her reasoning?
いいけど。
After erecting our tent, I gave saltless cooking a try as Kazuki requested. Cooking the onions in a fry pan, I mixed them with smashed steamed potatoes and flavored the mix with pepper. Then molded it into an oval and baked it in butter. Jesus, I can't read again. Pretty much making it up as I went along. What would you even call this thing? A potato burger? A croquette without meat or sauce? Anyway, kind of an unorthodox result. Although I was frankly a little wary myself, it was pretty good when I actually ate it, and Kazuki also happily praised the taste. By some mysterious psychological process, I found that Kazuki's praise motivated me to try hard next time as well. Ridiculous as it may sound, I'm fairly sure I was beginning to genuinely like this girl named Kazumi Kazuki. When the sun set, the sultry heat and humidity of the day vanished quickly, giving way to a chilly night. Nonetheless, I hadn't entered the tent yet. My agitation from this overwhelming barrage of events hadn't yet cooled, so I wasn't exactly sleepy. And I think I may have still been slightly resistant to the idea of entering that tent alone with Kazumi Kazuki. When I looked up, there was a slight sliver of moonlight working its way to us through a gap in the treetops. Amidst the darkness at the bottom of the ravine, I could just make out the dome shapes of our tents here and there. The only one in which a light was burning was the largest tent. That 6-person tent was occupied by our advisor, Mr. Ochi, along with the wounded Hiroka-san and Sakurai-san. The dim light of a lantern projected the movements of the inhabitants as shadows on the wall, and an agonized moaning leaked from inside. It was a voice like that of a damned soul crawling through hell. Probably Hiroka-san and her fractured legs. When Kazuki went to check on her after dinner, Hiroka-san had been bathed in greasy sweat. The entire time we were there, she kept up a low, groaning cry, never managing coherent speech.
This is fucked up. This is really fucked up. Again, content warning, everybody. If you gotta step away, step away. If you gotta take a break from it, it's all good. I understand.
The fractures had given rise to an agonizing fever. She had no method of coping with her suffering except to scream and moan. Knowing that we had to get her to a hospital as soon as possible, I also knew that we had been placed in circumstances where we could do nothing but wait for help. Frustrated impatience boiled up inside me. The food distributed to us by the captain's orders was to last 3 days. Which meant that, at the very least, she intended to have us spend 3 days here. But what was to come after that? What happened if 3 days passed and no one arrived to save us? As worsening tremors of anxiety crawled their way up my spine, I shivered for reasons unrelated to the temperature of my body. Our bus had fallen. Some of us had died. But even so, something in the core of my mind seemed to be... What? Anna, what it was? I probably know what that says. Oh my god, do not...
Obstinacy.
Oh my god, get off of that. I'm trying to clear it, you piece of shit.
Anesthetize.
No, fucking what?
Anesthetize.
Anesthetize? So anesthetized? Alright. Something in the core of my mind seemed to be anesthetized, whatever, against that truth. None of it felt fully real. That sense of numbness was what frightened me the most. What should we do? How do we survive this? No matter how frantically I tried to find answers, my mind was paralyzed, dominated by a single thought. We can't do anything. What will be, will be. As if rejecting the hopeless situation it had found itself in, my brain was simply refusing to think. That refusal of reality may have been a common phenomenon among us that night. For some other tent in the area, I heard the incongruous sound of brightly laughing voices. That laughter grated badly on my nerves. I couldn't help but turn my head toward the sound of irritation. Perhaps Kazuki, sitting next to me, felt the same way. As she likewise turned her gaze toward the laughter, there was a scowl on her face.
ねえ、風見さん。
和樹でいいわ。そう言ったと思うけど。
和樹。
何あまね。
あなたは今、何を考えているの？
別に何も。本を読んでいたところよ。
本？
There was nothing in Kazuki's hands. Even if there had somehow been a book there, it would have been impossible to read in the darkness.
あなたにはまだ言ってなかったかしら。私ね、一度見た本の内容を絵として頭に記憶しておいて、後から文字として認識することで好きな時に読むことができるの。
Okay, you have an eidetic memory then. Handy.
ごめん、意味がわからない。どういうこと？
つまり、開いた本のページをカメラで撮影して、後でその写真を見ることで内容を読むことができる。そういえばわかりやすいかしら？
Remember they mentioned this when mentioning Makina's reading ability? Yeah. Makina remembers everything she sees and hears. She just doesn't interpret what they say. So while she remembers what everything says, she doesn't actually know the meaning behind it. So it's kind of like she's got, it's kind of like Kazuki is a superior to Makina, kind of that. They have the same ability, but Kazuki's got a superior version of it.
Which I guess makes sense. She is perfect. She is a genius.
私の頭の中にはまだ読んでいない本が144冊残っていたから、そのうちの1冊を読んでいたところ。
Actually, Kazuki's the same way. She's reading it because she didn't understand what it actually said. Oh, no, I'm saying she's reading it again now in her mind to, you know, actually understand the context, whereas Makina can recall what something said, but she doesn't actually understand what it was actually saying to her. She was just spouting off what the book said, but it's like, okay, what's that all mean? I don't know. Yeah, there you go. She can just spout it off like a parrot, like it's a tape recorder. That's it, that's all. Whereas Kazuki's actually reading, understanding, and learning from it.
What the heck was I supposed to say to that? Could the geniuses of the world all do things like this? No. That was the wrong way to look at it. It's probably precisely when you can do something so utterly removed from the capabilities of other people that you deserve to be called a genius. I was confident there was simply no way I could ever pull off something like that, no matter how well she explained it to me.
何の本を読んでいたの？
地震で倒壊した学園の中に取り残された15人の男女学生を描いたフィクションノベル。
Okay.
へえ。
閉鎖空間に取り残された学生という設定が今の私たちの状況に近いし、何かの参考になるかと思って読んではみたけれど、ダメね。あまり有用な情報は得られなかったわ。
Corpse Party reference? Is that actually the plot of Corpse Party? I've heard of it. Never actually, you know, looked into it. Yeah, you're serious? Oh. Students have been discussed cultural telling ghost stories and sending earthquake transport into a dilapidated schoolhouse or an alternate dimension. Oh. Okay. Yeah, that wouldn't exactly help because there's like ghosts and shit apparently. So that doesn't. It's similar, but definitely not the same to help them get out of this.
On the point of asking about the ending of that novel, I abruptly clamped my mouth shut. Even without asking, I had a rough idea. Most likely, the students in that story were wiped out. That was probably the exact reason Kazuki had vaguely described it as not particularly useful. Kazuki turned her face to me with a sleepy expression, admittedly her default state, stifled a small yawn, and mumbled, "It'll be 10 soon," without a glance at any clock or watch.
することもないし、そろそろ寝ましょうか。
It was certainly true that staying up any later wasn't going to accomplish anything. And just being awake with nothing to do would invite unproductive, depressing thoughts. I understood that, but I simply wasn't sleepy. Indifferent to my minor dilemma, Kazuki stood up immediately and opened the zipper dividing the entrance to our tent.
ねえ、カズキ。
はい。
あなたは不安じゃないの？
ああ、それはいい質問ね。そんなあなたの問いにずっと前から用意しておいた答えがあるのだけれど、聞く？バスの事故に遭うことも、こうしてあなたとペアを組むことも、そしてあなたがこの時間にその質問をすることも、 私の中では全て想定内よ。
え？
どう？一応天才風にかっこよく決めたつもりだったのだけれど。
一応私は真面目な質問をしたつもりなんだけど。
だから私も真面目に答えたじゃない。もう寝ましょう。明日は明日できっとまた忙しくなるだろうし。
With those words, Kazuki dropped to all fours and began to burrow her way into the tent, like a bear returning to its den. In a blank daze, I watched Kazuki's round butt wriggling under her skirt as she disappeared inside. Wow! You really gotta say that? You gotta comment on her? Jeez. We're going all serious now. You can see I watched her butt wriggle. Man, even the seemingly dry parts of the VN still managed to keep you attached to what's going on. Higurashi has had that problem for me for when it's dry, it's really, really boring. The slice of life bits aren't particularly funny either. Yeah, I can see that. Day 9/23/20XX. Nice ass. God. I mean, who doesn't like a nice butt? We can all appreciate a nice ass. This is just probably not the best time to, in all honesty. Just makes me appreciate the writing and atmosphere of this VN more. It is very good, honestly. It is very good. Its twists like to come the fuck out of nowhere and hit you over the face with, like, you know, a bat. Just how insane it gets. Still, it's good. It lulls you into that false sense of security. I found myself alone, trying and failing to process the meaning of her words.
なんか今のでどっと疲れが出た感じ。
Confronted with the reality of Kazumi Kazuki, a girl who looked at first as if she wasn't thinking at all, a girl who kept her thoughts completely unreadable, I found myself feeling ridiculous in comparison. The way I drowned myself in anxious worrying. The way I worked myself into a panic over things I had no control over. If you're able to make your reader forget that time is passing, that's God tier. Yeah, I'd say so. I gotta agree with that. Left alone in the dark and silent place, I strained my ears. Hiroka-san's moans, which ate into the heart of the listener, and the voices of laughter, with their grating denial of our danger, both had stopped for now. The occasional rustling of trees in the wind and the voices of insects were the only sounds left to echo against the walls of rock. The second day in the valley. That morning, I awoke to the eerie song of distant birds. I had burrowed into my sleeping bag and closed my eyes, fully expecting to lie awake all night. But evidently, I must have dozed off at some point. When I forced open my unexpectedly heavy eyelids, I found the interior of our cheap blue tent illuminated by a slanting ray of morning sun. Thankfully, the temperature had risen with the dawn. I must have slept for at least a few hours, but the burden of my fatigue was no lighter. If anything, I felt even more exhausted than I had been the night before. Okay, now that you know where the sun's rising, you can actually discern where north and all that is. It's definitely not super accurate, but at least gives you an idea of where things are.
you know where north, south, and west are, you can maybe be able to figure out where you could go or where civilization could be. If you had a physical map, that'd be even better. You might be able to figure out exactly where on the road you could have fallen off at. It was on a curve, so I guess follow the route you were taking on. If you have a physical map, and just see where's a curve and suspected area of where we could have fallen, and is there any actual civilization in any direction close by? Just as a plan B.
Still wrapped in my sleeping bag, I turned sideways on top of my thin silver mat. Twisting my head toward the other side of the tent, I was surprised to find my roommate missing. Kazuki? Where could she have wandered off to? The mat and sleeping bag Kazuki had been using sat on the ground next to me, neatly tied together in a tight roll. From the look of things, it was unlikely she had just stepped out to use the bathroom. Kazuki was clearly already awake and taking action. I crawled outside the tent into the clear-skied but dim morning. The sheer cliffs to our right and left intercepted most of the sun's light. What little reached us filtered down through the gaps in the thick vegetation far above. No doubt, the same reason it felt oddly chilly for a summer day. Others had already emerged from their tents into the gloomy dawn. Here and there, they sat quietly on the hard stone ground. In addition to the trauma and mental exhaustion of the previous day, we'd slept in an unfamiliar environment. Not the best way to get rested and refreshed. Most had barely slept at all, judging from the dark circles under their eyes. I called out to a freshman from the neighboring tent, Ibuki Haruna, seated some 3 meters away. Ibuki brushed her long bangs out of her eyes with her fingers and responded listlessly.
Kazuki? ああ、風見さんならシャベルを担いで森の方に行ったから、おトイレじゃないかな。
With a shovel?
そう。
I turned toward the valley's lone exit, the tangle of vegetation we called a forest, but Kazuki was nowhere in sight. I did, however, happen to notice someone acting rather oddly a little way off.
ねえ、あれ、何やってるのかな。そう。
It was Sakuma Minori, a third-year senior. She was a talented athlete, particularly skilled at sinking three-pointers, who'd earned the title of scoring queen in our team. At the moment, she was repeatedly hurling a small object straight up into the air.
気になるなら自分で聞いてきたら。私、あの先輩苦手。
Buki didn't bother to lower her voice. She didn't seem to care whether her frank words might reach the ears of our senior. As the result of last night's discussion, she'd been paired with that very Sakuma senpai, and was stuck sharing a tent with her for the duration of our stay here. The combination seemed logical enough, since Ibuki and Sakuma had been sharing a room as boarder students. But room assignments in the dorm were arbitrary, arranged for the convenience of the school.
Ibuki is a whole mood.
As in most boarding schools, the freshmen tended to moan about running chores for their arrogant older roommates, while seniors complained about being expected to clean up after some clueless brat. If you're stuck living in the same room for an extended period of time, the reasonable thing would be to deal with your differences and find a way to get along. But it seems things aren't that simple, particularly for girls. and the roommates who disliked each other most tended to be exactly the ones who were kept together when rooms were reassigned the next year. It wasn't just a coincidence either. From what I'd heard, our school deliberately tried to create awkward combinations as a sneaky way of maintaining discipline. Letting friends clump together naturally leads to cliques and group attempts to skirt the rules. In turn, this can create sharp divisions between those who want peace and quiet in the dorm and those who want to enjoy themselves. Sometimes these would end in nasty squabbles. In other words, the mixing of oil and water personalities in individual rooms prevented larger scale problems. Or so I heard. As someone who commuted to school, it was a bit hard for me to understand dorm politics.
佐久間先輩、さっきから何をなさってるんですか？
おお、あまねか。これだこれ。
Sakuma held up the small object she had been hurling repeatedly into the sky. Specifically, it was her cell phone. She had been repeating a simple pattern of action, throwing it straight up with all of her might, retrieving it on the way back down, then throwing it right back up again. On closer examination, the body of the phone was battered and covered in fine cracks. She'd probably dropped it numerous times by now.
昨日の夜眠る前に思いついたんだけどね。メールを送信したまま空に投げればうまいこと圏内に入って助けが呼べるんじゃないかなと思ってさ。
I mean, that could work. Possibly. I mean, it's better than trying nothing. I'm just checking again. 1 o'clock, I gotta call in to find out if I'm working today. Alright, cool, I got plenty of time. I'll go a little longer today.
今朝からずっと試してるんだけど。よっと。
With a fluid overhand motion, Sakuma launched the cell phone into the sky once again.
それ、すごくいいアイデアじゃないですか。
だろ？私もそう思ったんだけど。おっと。
Skillfully catching the cell phone as it plunged back to Earth, she flipped on the screen and checked the status of the transmission.
また失敗か。もう50回ぐらい投げてるけど、一度も成功しないよ。やっぱり、風見の言う通りなのかもな。
Yeah, I got the time. I'll try to go a little bit longer, especially because I started a little late today. I'll go a tad bit longer. I'll go, like, probably right up until about 1 o'clock. Or as close to it as I can. I'm hoping I can get through the flashback by then. If not... well, I'll have to wait about 2 weeks then for me to continue it. But still. Because I don't know how long this flashback is actually going to go. Oh, you won't? Oh, great. So it's super long. Of course it's going to be long as fuck. Oh, well. I'll get as much as I can. Nowhere close. How fucking long is this flashback? Ugh. In that case, see you in 2 weeks. Oh my god.
和樹はなんて。
ただでさえ電波が届きにくい環境の上に、もし圏内に投げ込むことができたとしても、送信する前に落下してしまえば意味がないってさ。
It's long but really good? Okay.
だったら携帯が戻ってこないように崖の上まで投げちゃえばいいじゃないですか。
私だってそう思ったさ。さっきから投げてるのは崖の上に乗せてしまおうと思って投げてるんだけど、届かないんだよ。
ああ。
Although I couldn't tell the exact height of the cliff she was aiming for, A conservative estimate would be 50 meters. And since the walls sloped over us, some fairly precise aim would be required to land on top of it.
後で何かうまい方法を考えると風見は言っていたけど、守備よく崖の上に乗せることができたとしても、そこが圏内である保証はないってさ。
そうですか。
I'd hit on the idea of making a crude sling out of a towel or something to throw the phone over the cliff. But it was true enough. There was no evidence we'd be accomplishing anything, even if it worked. If there wasn't any signal up there either, we'd end up throwing away a valuable potential means of communication for nothing. And yet, Sakuma was keeping at her task relentlessly. Probably mostly for the sake of having something to do. She seemed to know full well that it was essentially hopeless.
それで、その、和樹を見かけませんでしたか？
風見ならさっき大きなシャベルを抱えて森に入っていったよ。30分ぐらい前かな。トイレにしては長いね。
ちょっと私、様子を見に行ってこようかと思います。
気をつけた方がいいよ。さっき私も森に入ってみたんだけど、道なんてどこにもないし、周りは木ばっかりで目印がないからすぐに迷う。何か分かりやすい目印をつけながら行った方がいい。
はい、わかりました。気をつけます。
It had already been a half hour since Kazuki entered the forest. Definitely way too long for a bathroom break. It was hard to imagine Kazumi Kazuki, of all people, making such a careless blunder. But there was a possibility she'd lost her bearings and wandered in the wrong direction. I cautiously made my way into the forest, using the blade of a can opener to mark tree trunks with arrows as I went. Smart. Kazuki, sorry, I had Taco Bell before we crashed. Oh my god. I tried shouting her name, but there was no reply. I studied the ground at my feet. Although crushed vegetation made it clear that some of us had been in this area recently, the trails were indistinct. Not that I could tell which belonged to Kazuki in the first place. When I glanced behind me, I found the route I trampled through the high grass was still very clear by some comparison. Surprisingly, however, it was a meandering zigzag, probably from the result of constantly winding my way around trees. And you didn't invite me? Oh my god. I thought I was walking perfectly straight, too. You see what I mean? See? She unknowingly, Amane was going in a zigzag, not straight. It's notoriously hard to walk in a straight line in the woods. This is what makes the wilderness a truly terrifying place. I thought I'd had a pretty good sense of the dangers of wild mountains from books and comics. But now that I was actually experiencing one, I was quickly coming to realize how badly mistaken I'd been. She's just not a true gamer like me, oh my god. I'd gone in believing that getting lost in the woods would generally work out for the best, so long as you reacted appropriately. That naive thought dissolved in mere minutes inside the jungle. In an environment utterly barren of any traces of other human beings, your sense of isolation quickly builds into anxiety. It becomes easy to rush into action based on unfounded, optimistic assumptions. It's got to be this way. It was probably over there. Shying away from acknowledging the worst-case scenario, running around on your intuition alone, you become truly and hopelessly lost. In time, your anxiety reaches a new stage. Am I simply wasting my energy wandering around in circles? An even worse fear, because it's paralyzing. You're frozen where you stand, trapped with your own slowly escalating terror. And eventually, the fear of death creeps up on you, breaking your courage and robbing you of reason. In the end, just such an outcome is entirely likely. It hadn't been 10 minutes since I entered the forest, but I could already feel myself trembling. I'd begun to sink into the first stage, powerful anxiety at my own isolation. I screamed Kazuki's name for the second time, a little louder than before. Maybe it would be smarter to return for now while I still know the way back. Then launch an organized search with someone else. But just as these thoughts were running through my head, I heard the rustling of someone stepping their way through the high grass a few paces behind me. My body went stiff with shock. I spun around to find that Kazumi Kazuki had materialized out of nowhere, the usual vaguely sleepy expression on her face.
人の名前をあまり大きな声で叫ばないでもらえる？ファンに取り囲まれたら面倒じゃない。
カズキ！
ええ、そう、風見和樹よ。サインが欲しいのならマネージャーを通して事務所に色紙を送ってちょうだい。
何？色紙？
いや、だからここであなたはアイドル気取りかって突っ込んでくれないとボケゾンってやつじゃない。
あ、そうか、ごめん。
いいわよ別に。それほど面白い冗談だとも思ってなかったし。
カズキ、どこに行ってたの？
トイレよ。一人でゆっくり用を足すこともできないなんて、まさにアイドルのようだと思ったから口にした冗談だったのだけれど。
You're gone for half an hour.
トイレにしては遅いじゃない。30分も頑張ってたの？
ついでだから食べられそうな草を摘んでいたのよ。ほら。
Kazuki held out some small, unfamiliar vegetables. They seemed to be immature shoots of some leafy plant.
山菜でも生えていればと思って探してみたけれど、こんなものしか見つからなかったわ。
何それ、食べられるの？
草ソテツのわかめよ。一応生でも食べられるけど、おひたしとかにした方がいいわね。
へえ、こんなの初めて見た。あんまり美味しそうじゃないけど。
ろくな食べ物がないから、それらを餌にする野生動物も当然いない。鳥の声はするけど、その姿は見えない。熊に襲われる心配がないのはありがたいけれど、改めてひどい環境だと思い知ったわ。
Yeah, you guys really have.
とりあえず、朝食はこれで済ませましょう。調理法は任せるけど、調味料の類はできるだけ節約して。
Why do you want to use as little seasoning as possible?
食材ならまだじゃがいもも人参も残ってるけど。
日持ちのするものはできるだけ残しておきたいの。3日でここを脱出できるとは限らないのだし。
そっか、そうだよね。
そんなにがっかりしないで。確かに絶望的ではあるけれど、助からないと決まったわけではないから。
私たち助かるの？
どうかしら。別にはぐらかすわけではないけれど、さすがの私にもまだわからないわね。
私たちが助かる方法ってあるの？
あるわよ。
どんな方法？何？あるんでしょ？方法が。
あるにはあるけれど、まだ無理。
無理ってどういう意味？
今の私たちでは実現不可能という意味よ。
めん。
Okay then.
私バカだから意味がわからない。今は無理ってどういうこと？時間が経てば可能になるってこと？
そういうこと。それに救助が来る可能性もまだ残っているし、今はただじっと耐えるしかないわ。
ねえ、どんな方法なの？ヒントだけでも教えてよ。
人間が死なないために必要なものってなんだ？
Food, water, shelter.
水？
あ、思い出した。さっき草を摘んでいるとき、湧き水が湧いている場所を見つけたの。というわけで、飲み水の心配は不要よ。
なんだ、お水か。
Sorry, I'm an idiot. What does that mean? Mood.
そうがっかりしたものでもないわよ。水があれば1週間は生きられるもの。部長にはあなたが発見したって報告してくれる？
それは構わないけど。
じゃあ戻りましょうか。
待って、私まだヒントの答え聞いてないよ。人間が生きていくのに必要なものって何？
食べ物よ。
Yeah, food.
食べ物？それが助かるためのヒント？
そういうこと。だからできるだけ接触しておく必要があるの。
それでみんなが助かるの？
全員が助かるとは一言も言ってないでしょ。
Yeah.
もう戻りましょう。あまり遅くなるとみんなが心配するわ。
和樹！
大丈夫よ。帰り道は完璧に覚えているから。私についてきなさい。
待ってよ、和樹！
わお、すごい計画ね。何をそんなに怒っているの？
ワオじゃないわよ。全員は助からないってどういう意味？
そういう可能性もあるという意味よ。早い段階で救助が来ればもちろん全員助かるわ。
じゃあもし救助が来なかったら？
Everyone's gonna start dying slowly one by one.
それはその時に考えればいいことよ。編成された救助隊の捜索が打ち切られるのは早くて5日、遅くても14日。1週間経っても救助が来なければその時に考えましょう。みんなで。そんなに心配しなくてもあなたはかなりの確率で生き残るはずよ。
どんな根拠で？
そんなの決まっているでしょ。私のパートナーに選ばれたからよ。
本気で言ってるの？それ。
もちろん本気です。さて、質問は以上かしら？よろしい。では戻りましょう。
もう勝手にずんずん行かないで。
面倒な子ね。不安だから手をつないでほしいのならはっきりとそう言いなさいの。
別にそういうわけじゃ。
あらそう。じゃあいいのね。手をつながなくて。
つなぐ。
はい、お声が遠いのですが。
つなぎます。手をつながせてください、和樹様。
Okay, I do remember Amane constantly holding our hand in the route and saying that she needs to hold somebody's hand. So, yeah, hold their hand to feel safe. Okay.
あら、いい子ね。いらっしゃい、あまねちゃん。
もう、これからは勝手に一人で行動しないで。私、心配したんだよ。
It's a Gundam!
私を？
Thanks, Nick.
そりゃさ、 私ごときがおこがましいとは思うけど。
いえ、そういう意味ではなくて、むしろ私を心配してくれる人がいることに驚いたというか。
When I say the jump scared me, holy shit, that jump scared you? Just, it's a Gundam scared you? Ooh. The sudden noise made me jump. I was watching a TikTok with my headphones still on, so it came in an oh, okay. Oh my god. Well, at least I know everyone is just awake in general, if that got them going.
でもそうね。ごめんなさい。そんな顔しないで。まるで母親に置いていかれた子供みたいな顔じゃない。大丈夫。あなたを置いてどこにも行きはしないから。
約束？
ええ、約束するわ。さ、戻りましょう。
うん。
Since I was physically sturdy, I was usually the one being relied on by others. But at that moment, I had realized I'd grown totally dependent on that diminutive girl, Kazumi Kazuki. I wasn't used to leaning on others like a crutch. Clinging to someone usually made me feel more awkward than anything else. But that day, the distinct warmth of Kazuki's small hand was very reassuring.
冷たい手をしているのね、アマネ。
あ、ごめん。
いいのよ。私の母親もこんな感じの手だから。
私のことお母さんって呼んでもいいのよ。
What?
あら、言うようになったわね。
Okay, just joking. Good. Oh my god. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? God.
Kazuki guided me by the hand back out of the forest. When we returned to the camp, we found everyone gathered in front of the tents, discussing plans for the future and proposing escape strategies. Of course, we were students from a school for rich, young ladies, with only a superficial appearance of maturity. Producing a perfect smile for a polite good day was the extent of the practical, non-academic knowledge we'd gained there.
You're needed, Mommy. I mean, Amane-san. Oh my god. Oh god.
As such experience wasn't exactly of much use here, the majority of the ideas were unrealistic, founded on the assumption the world would arrange itself for our convenience. If anything, it could be called good fortune that a few halfway decent-sounding thoughts were mixed in. For example, Sakuma's throwing a cell phone into the sky. However, the majority of these more worthwhile plans had already been tried out by the person who brought them up, all with little success. I cannot frickin' read. Is that the same one? Is that the only time Nightbot showed up in chat?
Nightbot, what the fuck? You're sending the same thing twice? God damn it, I gotta change the timers on that. Because some haven't even gone off yet.
In this life and death situation, everyone tossed out any idea that popped into their head, grasping at straws in a desperate search for hope. But when someone proposed we capture a bird and wrap a letter around its leg asking for help, Captain Sagashida finally lost her temper at the sheer absurdity.
あなたたち、少しは真面目に考えたらどうなの?
Nightbot tries it, being useful. Oh. Fucking Nightbot.
そんな、私たちだって必死に考えて。
必死に考えてその程度なの。小学生だってもう少しまともな意見を口にするわよ。それとも何？この次はどうやって鳥を捕まえるかという議題で話し合うつもり？
何もそんな言い方しなくたって。ねえ。確かに、一番必死なのは坂下かもね。
私たちよりまともな意見があるなら言えばいいのに。
The stage whispers of her critics naturally reached Captain Sagashida's ears, as they were intended to.
あなたたち、言いたいことがあるならはっきりと言いなさいな。そんな陰口のように恥ずかしくはないの?
Captain Sakashida's irritated, impatient tone was no different from her usual scoldings during practice. But at that moment, we weren't in that usual situation, tucked away in our safe gymnasium. It was a life or death emergency, and everyone was frantic. At such times, people instinctively seek out someone to rely on. The more desperate the situation, the more we throw aside rank and title and turn to raw competence.
Me? Okay. You suck, bitch! Hear that, Captain?
It felt like many gazes were beginning to concentrate in Kazuki's general direction. I don't think it was just my imagination. Captain Sakashida seemed to have noticed as well. Swallowed by what looked like an overwhelming surge of irritation, she abruptly grabbed a nearby fist-sized outcropping of rock and squeezed it so hard her fingers turned white. This isn't good. We weren't going to achieve anything by continuing this attack on Captain Sakashida, and I think we all knew that. Even so, I understood the temptation to create a scapegoat, the irrational feeling that pushing all the bitterness and blame onto another would wipe away our own shortcomings, as if doing so would save us somehow.
Oh my god.
For most of the team members, the captain had become the scapegoat, and for the captain, it must have been Kazuki who filled that role. As the main authority figure, our advisor, Mr. Ochi, probably should have interceded by now, but he seemed intent on staying out of the conversation under the pretext of attending to the wounded. He had never made a habit of intervening in the team's quarrels, a policy typical of teachers at all-female schools, who know full well what a nuisance it is to get caught in the crossfire of a schoolgirl squabble. His normal approach was to smooth things over with the individuals involved after the fight died down. He was probably assuming that would be enough this time as well. What should we do? Not that I really have grounds to criticize his passivity. In the end, I glanced pleadingly at Kazuki out of the corner of my eye, hoping she would rescue us from this ugly situation. Apparently reading my mind from that small movement, Kazuki let out a short, resigned sigh, then slowly opened her mouth to speak.
もうその辺にしておきなさい。バカを相手に喧嘩をする人が一番バカよ。
その言葉、私に言ったの？それとも彼女たちに？
Yes.
みんなに言ったのよ。あなたにはどう聞こえた？
そういうあなたはさっきからずっと黙っているようだけど、何かいいアイデアはないのかしら？
おとなしく救助を待つという提案が一番最初に決まったはずですが。
何もしないでただ救助を待つというの？いつ来るかもわからない救助を。
いつ来るかわからないから無駄に体力を消耗したくないのです。幸いなことにスオさんのおかげで水源は確保できたことですし、接触すればしばらくは持ちこたえられますが、それとも
You can go for a surprising amount of time without food. You cannot go very long without water, though. So, I mean, it's gonna suck, but you can spend a few days not eating anything to make your stuff last longer if possible. Water is the big thing. You need water. Without water, you're done in a few days. Without food, I think you can last about a week or two or something, or maybe a little long. Let's see, actually, what does it say online exactly how long you can last without food and water? With no food and no water, the maximum time the body can survive is thought to be about a week. With only water but no food, survival time may extend up to 2 to 3 months. Yeah, because your body will start to break down fat to, keep you give you some kind of energy. The body will eat itself to keep you going. But without food, you got, days. You've got 2 to 3 months potentially. But if you have absolutely no water, really, it's like 3 days and you're kaput. You need water. Your body is mostly water. You need to replace said water. You need that. So yeah, you can go a while with just water. So yeah, food is not, while food is a priority, it's also something it's okay if you don't have a lot of. In a survival situation, at least. Bodies are made of... Exactly! Our bodies are mostly consist of water.
Kazuki covered her mouth with her hand and narrowed her eyes in apparent amusement.
それとも以前私が申し上げたように一か八かの賭けに出てあの密林に足を踏み入れて脱出を試みますか?
As she spoke, Kazuki jerked her head in the direction of the overgrown humid jungle, sealing our only exit from the valley. Even from a distance, the tangled mass of plants exuded the indifferent menace of nature.
それは
The captain had empathically shot down this suggestion only yesterday. Overturning that decision now was probably impossible. Cold sweat forming at my temples, I watched nervously as the captain's face changed color to an extremely disturbing shade of red. But in the next moment, Kazuki shot me a quick, suggestive glance. Oh, I get it. I abruptly jerked my hand into the air as if requesting a teacher's attention in the classroom.
よろしいでしょうか？
何かしら、スオさん。
やっぱり部長がおっしゃったように、うかつに森に入るのは危険だと思います。
それはもう誰もが理解していることよ。
ですからとりあえず1週間この場で思いつく限りのアイデアを試しながら 救助を待つというのはどうでしょう。
どうして1週間なの？
この手の遭難事故の場合、だいたい2週間で捜索が打ち切られるそうです。ですから1週間待ってみて救助が来ない場合は、その時にまたこちらから行動を起こすアイデアを話し合いましょう。
それを今話し合っているのでしょ？あなた何を言っているの？
それはその。
どうして1週間後にも今日と同じ体力が残っていると思えるのかしら。不思議。
何ですって？
I turn my head slightly to the side and shoot Kazuki a brief glare. Not that she even noticed, judging from her unruffled, perfectly indifferent expression.
いや、でも、まあ、つまりはそういうことです。とにかく1週間、思いつく限りの手段で SOS を発信しながら救助を待って、それでも救助が来なかったら、その時の体力や食料事情に応じた対策を話し合いましょう。
まあいいわ。確かに今はそれぐらいしかできることもなさそうだし。それでよろしいですね、先生。
ああ、とりあえずはそれでいいだろ
う。では最後に私からの忠告です。各自アイデアを出して実行するのは構いませんが、決して無茶のない範囲で行動するように。
Fair enough.
崖に足場を掘りながらよじ登るとか、そういった危険が伴うアイデアはくれぐれも実行しないように。以上。
With those clipped words of warning, the discussion finally ended, taking with it the tension that had hung thick in the air for so long. The rest of the group quickly broke up into their assigned pairs, whispering furtively with each other as they walked away from the meeting place. Or furtively, whatever. Of course, I was no exception, as Kazuki promptly stood up from her seat and made to leave. I chased after her and immediately offered a few words of complaint.
ちょっと、さっきのはひどくない？セーブしちゃう？
Okay, not nearly as much longer than I thought I would be, just because it's getting pretty close to 1 now. So I'm gonna swap over. Alright. I'm gonna end this stream off for today. For now, depending on how this call ends up going, I may or may not have my Dream Drop Distance stream later tonight. We'll see. I'll let you guys know on Twitter and on the Discord. Again, if you guys have not joined the Discord and would wish to join the Discord, just use the command Discord or in my About. The link should still be good. I'm pretty sure I made it a permanent one. That's where you'll get all the announcements and whatnot, and where I'm just gonna keep uploading pictures of my gunpla. Yeah, Nichols, I made a Discord. Remember back at the subathon? That was one of the things that got spun. I had to make a Discord. I made the Discord. It exists. It is here. Is a thing. Yeah, I remember the subathon didn't realize you did the thing. I did do the thing. The thing's been done. It exists now. It's very simple, but it's there. I even got the, rule. I got even a rules thing, so, if people don't follow the rules, I can kick them out, and they have no excuse for not following the rules. It's like, you click the check mark saying you read the rules. There aren't very many rules. But it is there. That's where I'm going to have a lot of my announcements, as well on Twitter. So I did finally make it. It's an easier way for, me to convey everything to you guys. I mean, not everyone's going to check Twitter, and Twitter is just going to get drowned out by, your feed of whatever you're looking at. Twitter might also be dying. I'm not sure. We'll see how that situation goes. Okay, let's see. I got a decent amount of people. Is there anybody I can send you all off? Great to. So I'd love to. Twitter's an interesting place to be these days. Yeah, I don't know what the hell is happening. But we'll just let, you know, let him figure out what the fuck's going on. Let Elon do what he's gonna do. Yeah, I don't really have anyone. I doubt there's anyone playing Fruit of Grisaia besides me. I'm the only one playing Fruit of Grisaia. I've practically been the only one playing it. Practically. I mean, it looks like there's other people that have been too. So that's reassuring. 20 days ago, I see Princey was playing it. That's interesting. Oh, anyhow. I am going to again end off for today, and I gotta make that call to my, you know, work. To find out, hey, you need me to come in today? Cool, I'll be on my way, or cool, I'll see you, you know, tomorrow. So, I will let you guys know through Twitter and the Discord whether or not tonight's stream will be a go or not. But until then, thank you everybody for watching, commenting, and lurking. I appreciate it very much. I hope you have yourselves a great rest of your afternoon, and I'll probably see you in a bit.